to Revelation Faithbook USA 4th of July 2018 edition. Hello, I'm the Reverend Elaine Yavazak, and this is my 53rd video for Revelation Faithbook. Today's message is entitled, My Second Ministry Experiment Results, 4th of July 2018. This is in conjunction with last year's video entitled, Why I Should Have Done Things Differently, 4th of July 2017. Here is a preview of last year's video. Roll 'em! Haha! Guess what, folks? It's time for another experiment. Haha! Guess what, folks? It's time for another experiment. So, now I'm involved in two ministries. Okay, this is the experiment. Another experiment I'm doing. Two ministries now. This one and another one. Revelation Faithbook and another in which I remain anonymous. See, that's probably how I should have started this right from the start. Just be anonymous. What can you do? Okay. But now the cat's out of the bag. The reason for the anonymous ministry is to see if the people who dislike Revelation Faithbook, and they don't even like my logo at all, I will see if they like the other ministry in which they have no idea is mine. I use a voice changer app where I speak as normal and can change the sound of my voice into a man's voice. I am doing this using another channel in YouTube. This is to find out if people hate my ministry since I'm a woman, or to see if someone has something against me personally. I have explained this in a previous sermon that this is for experimental research purposes only, and that I will be doing this for 1 year and then report the outcome. But if I notice anybody who hates Revelation Faithbook, but likes this anonymous ministry, I won't confront them. I won't confront them. No. It's just for my knowledge only. Okay, but when I report the outcome a year later, probably my 4th of July video for 2018, I'll give the stats on that. But of course I'm not going to say names. But I might point out, oh, this one's a relative, or this one's a friend. That'll be as far as I go with that. God has picked out people who are laughable. And through them, He is confounding those who think they are high and mighty. Low class, second-rate, common, average, run-of-the-mill people, those so low that the world doesn't even think they're worth the time of day. These are the ones whom God has chosen. Surprised? I always thought of myself as the little person, and I've said that in a couple of my other videos. And I always will be the low person. Low. Okay? Alright. Having two ministries was more than I could handle. So I only did one video on a separate YouTube channel. But before I show this video, as you may know, I've started doing my own music. I've started a new playlist here on YouTube entitled Studio 7. I have kickstarted these new segments in my most recent video entitled Introduction to Studio 7. After I show this video, I will show the one I've made for my second ministry. Then I will share the number of views it received. Roll 'em! Now here is my second ministry video. Roll 'em!
Good afternoon, I am Pastor Ray. Today I'll be speaking about homosexuality. As America and the West rapidly de-Christianize, the physical, spiritual, and moral threats to our children rise, seemingly in inverse proportion to the expanding, godless chaos. The LGBTQ movement, especially a powerful, well-marketed sin movement, is right up there with radical feminists in tearing down century-old norms and our children's innocence in the process. Take the Los Angeles Dodgers, for example. This Major League Baseball franchise, like so many in professional sports today, celebrates all things LGBTQ, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, effectively championing immortality, masquerading as noble civil rights, equality, and diversity. Friday, June 9th was LGBT Pride Night at Dodger Stadium, and that means it was not a good night for parents to bring their sons and daughters to the ball game. That is, unless you don't mind your kids being morally corruptive, as many progressive parents apparently don't. Or if you're okay with being forced to give Johnny a lesson on what's wrong with homosexuality when you'd rather be discussing baseball stats and chowing down on overpriced hot dogs. Anyway, since it was Sin Night, Gay Pride Night, the usual innocuous entertainment gimmick known as the kiss cam was put to illicit ends, showing a bunch of same-sex couples, quote-unquote, kissing. The kiss cam is a popular feature at a lot of stadiums and indoor arenas in which the big screen camera pans the audience and then hones in on a couple who, seeing their faces up on the mega screen, smooches as the crowd applauds. It's fun to watch, although it can get a bit uncomfortable if the camera lands on a couple that's into excessive PDA, public display of affection. Reactions vary as a highlighted couple is suddenly put to the spot. One pair will barely touch lips, while less modest lovebirds will ham it up with a passionate kiss for the crowd. But when it comes to homosexual kisses caught on the kiss cam, appropriate revulsion is taken to a whole new level. I think most parents are like me in yearning for the good old days when all you had to worry about at a ball game was a drunken jerk behind you, cursing like a sailor, or should I say, like a writer for the lefty site, called Wonkette. Fact is, heterosexuality is still the natural, God-ordained norm, despite decades of leftist pro-homosexual and now pro-transgender, socially engaging by the media, Hollywood, academia, and corporations, comparing perverse same-sex kisses to the normal variety in the name of equality is about as preposterous as, I don't know, saying two guys or two women can get married, quote-unquote, to each other. Worse than that, like legalizing counterfeit same-sex marriages, it sends a really bad and dangerous, God-defying message to children. America's pastime now promotes sin. So I was saddened to see the story in the LGBTQ Nation site showing one homosexual couple after another at the Dodgers game on the Kiss Cam. The Dodgers are one of 11 Major League Baseball teams featuring a night to honor the LGBTQ community. Attendees received a rainbow Dodgers t-shirt, gushes the sodomistic site. LifeSite News just reported on another upcoming Major League franchise celebrating sexual perversion. The Pittsburgh Pirates LGBT Pride Day on Sunday, July 2nd at PNC Park. Tragically, that event is scheduled the same day as a Kids Day, in which fans under 14 will get to run the bases and get a free Pirates replica quote-unquote jersey. A pro-family advocate, Richard Jarzanka, complained the Pirates are specifically marketing to draw children to the game at which they will be celebrating and promoting homosexuality. Homosexuality, still gravely sinful. Can you see what's happening here? The left is replacing Christianity with pagan concepts of sexuality that redefine the created norm. What was once widely regarded in the West as a crime against nature, which is Noah Webster's definition of sodomy, is now celebrated as just another form of love, quote-unquote. It began with that slippery term, sexual orientation, but now that we're in full LGBTQ equality mode, we will see more and more outward expressions of homosexuality, breaking down our natural God-given inhibitions against this sin. And if you dare disagree with the notion that all forms of love or each of the dozens of gender-bending identities is equal, you will be damned as a judgmental bigot, spreading your hate and your phobia and your narrow, loveless religion. But God's eternal truth remains. The Bible teaches, there is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is a way to death. Proverbs 14:12. And the heart is deceitful above all things, and desperately sick, who can understand it? Jeremiah 17:9, the King James Version replaces sick with wicked. Homosexual acts are called an abomination, which means detestable in the Bible. They are so seriously wrong that, as top Bible and homosexuality scholar Professor Robert Gagnon notes, God lists homosexuality alongside adultery, incest, and bestiality in the Old Testament, Leviticus 20. The Catholic Catechism describes homosexual behavior as never justified and intrinsically disordered. I know that's not the common view among most young people or even most adults today, but that's the way God sees it. Wayward souls can choose to reject biblical revelation and natural law, and many do, but truth and morality are not determined by polls. They are transcendent and timeless. You don't get to redefine sin and God's righteous law based on feelings, even if you're young and living in a profane sexual culture. It's beyond your pay grade. Cringeworthy. So if you cringe at homosexual PDAs at the ballpark or at the mall, that just means you're normal. Cherishing God's wonderful heterosexual design, uniting man and woman in holy matrimony to produce children and continue life on earth, that's awesome. And opposing sexual deviance and not wanting it modeled as socially acceptable to your children, that's also normal and good. Think about this the next time someone throws the simplistic LGBTQ love is love formula your way. As parents, we want our children to be exposed to affectionate, happily married male-female couples because that's what we want them to aspire to. This is why our own marital relationships are so key. They model godly unions to our kids, or not. But we emphatically do not want homosexual unions modeled to our kids as okay. Whether it's two dudes locking lips in the seat in front of your family at a baseball game, or a lesbian teacher with a photo of her and her female lover placed prominently on her desk in the classroom. And domesticity does not make it right. Even a sexually monogamous 25-year homosexual relationship, far from the norm in the LGBTQ world, is immoral. Furthermore, as Gagnon points out, long-term same-sex relationships are not a new phenomenon, but existed in Bible times. Wrong then, wrong today. No hate. This does not mean we are called or allowed as Christians to hate the person engaged in these immoral acts or revel in our condemnations of public sinners. The example of Jesus telling the woman caught in adultery to go and sin no more, while saving her from those who would stone her, is illustrative. To the contrary, we love people enough to tell them the truth of God's amazing plan and reach out to them as forgiven sinners ourselves with the life-changing gospel. Leaving political correctness aside, we urge them to carry on chastely and to trust Christ Jesus to come alongside them in their sacrificial pursuit of righteousness. And we should point them to those overcomers who have chosen not to succumb to the sinful pull of homosexuality in their lives. But demonstrating Christian love, grace, and compassion should not include acquiescing to the social evil of glamorizing sin, especially to impressionable kids at once wholesome environs like ballparks. We do not want anyone, especially our children, to get used to homoerotic behavior and see it as no big deal. Ditto for fornication, porn, and other sins, by the way. The cascading effect of normalizing sin. This is another reason why legalized gay marriage and all efforts to institutionalize acceptance of homosexuality and gender rebellion are so dangerous. Remember the LGBT lobby's rhetorical question, how does my gay marriage affect your marriage? Well, here's one pernicious side effect. By normalizing sexual perversion and calling it quote-unquote equal to what is natural and normal, and then going further by honoring it using misleading euphemisms like marriage equality, you ultimately end up driving everyone everywhere to pretend that it is equal. It's not. Far from it. And yet if LGBT advocates have their way, including straight liberals who are often more zealous than gays, every child in America, indeed the world, would be taught that homosexuality is fine, and that anyone who says otherwise, including religious authorities, is a bigot, guilty of spreading quote-unquote hate. In fact, the drive of proud gays to rationalize their abhorrent lifestyles impels the LGBTQ lobby's fanatical campaign to demonize and discredit faithful Christians who pretty much are the only ones left in America willing to say no to their sin. In a dying civilization that is losing its once commonly shared religious moorings, things that were once universally held up as good, like the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and children's literature, end up getting corrupted to serve evil causes as fewer and fewer people defend biblical morality. Sin, rebellion against our Creator, metastasizes and righteousness goes in retreat. The gay marriage movement, followed now by the apostate gay Christian movement, is only accelerating America's descent into spiritual and sexual anarchy as good becomes evil and evil good. Isaiah 5:20. Long gone are the days when homosexual activists would assure us that their agenda is only about adults, not children. We're approaching the 30th anniversary of Heather Has Two Mommies, first published in 1989. Now, LGBTQ militants demand that homosexuality and gender confusion be sanctioned in schools and that children be allowed, heck, encouraged to embrace homosexuality and whatever apparent gender identity strikes their fancy. At the same time, the neo-totalitarian left works to criminalize parental efforts to guide sexually confused children out of homosexuality or gender confusion and return to a godly lifestyle, all part of the LGBT lobby's war on normal. We must not just shrug our shoulders and defeat as such assailants on our children, nor shrink away in despair. Setting baseball, football, hockey, etc. to the LGBT lobby and progressives is hardly the answer. Instead, we need to aggressively expose the left's anti-child agenda and again make the old-fashioned Christian moral care for preserving our kids' innocence. We must redouble our efforts to guide our children into truth and protect their souls and minds through wholesome entertainment while girding their minds against the modern lies of various sin advocates such as the being gay or trans is who you are. And we must hold big corporations and once noble institutions like Major League Baseball teams and the Boy Scouts accountable when they sell out our kids. Remember, it was the Lord Jesus, the way, the truth, and the life, who said, if anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea. Matthew 18:6. Thanks for listening. This was Pastor Ray, and have a blessed day.
The results are in, but before I share the total number of views, I just want to point out that I forgot to use keywords that are used to appear in search results like I had it with my Revelation Faithbook videos. The video received a grand total of only 6 views. One view was from myself, another was from a friend that's a Revelation Faithbook subscriber. I had told her about my secret ministry and asked if she could see the video, so I sent her the link. The other 4 views were from friends of my Revelation Faithbook subscribers since she asked me if she can pass the link on to her friends. The video got 2 thumbs up, so that's that. I will close with this verse. Romans chapter 8 verse 28 reads, "And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose." Oh, that's all for today. Have a great 4th of July. Hope to see you next time, and bye for now.